Hey, what's up? It's me, Rowan. You might know me from time-honored classics like the last video on this channel, or the one I'm doing right now.
It's editing, Rowan. I'm like 2 days into editing this, like almost done, and I just realized that the focus doesn't fit. The focus is bad, and the lighting is also bad. So maybe just treat this one as a podcast. I'm still gonna post it, but I'm sorry.
Today we're going to be talking about Billie Eilish. I thought this would be a good follow-up to my tramp stamps video because there has been a lot of discussion around Billie Eilish being an industry plant, but that's actually not what I wanted to talk to you about today. If you've been online in the past couple of weeks, you've probably heard at least a small tidbit of press around Billie's recent Vogue cover and the accompanying interview, which coincided with the release of her latest single, Your Power. I've noticed two primary responses to this promo in the media. Conservatives, misogynists, and anti-feminists alike criticizing Billie for the provocative nature of the shoot, or hashtag girlboss pop feminism hot takes, lauding her bravery and upholding her as an icon of women's liberation. I think there's room in this conversation for a more balanced and critical perspective, and that's what I'm going to try and provide you with today. Before we get into it, I just want to say a couple of things for the record. One, I wouldn't call myself a Billie Eilish fan, but I'm not a hater either. I like a couple of her songs. I do think she's talented, but at the same time, just not an artist that I would typically seek out on my own. Two, I've said before on this channel that I don't think kids should be celebrities. If that's an opinion that you are wholeheartedly opposed to, you probably aren't going to agree with pretty much anything I say in this video. That said, you're welcome to stay and hate watch. I am a proud hater myself, but just try not to be a dick in the comments, you know. Disagreements are fine, but I would love to keep it respectful if at all possible. Three, at the end of this video, I'm going to have information about a giveaway because in my last video I said if I hit 500 subscribers I would do a giveaway, and I did way quicker than I thought I was going to. So I made up a little pair of earrings, and if you're interested in that, information about that will be at the end of the video. Also, while I was researching this, I kind of went down like a rabbit hole and I have so much to say, so this is actually going to be a two-part video. Maybe three, probably two. I'll edit. So stay tuned for that later on. Starting it off pretty simple, I'm basically just going to take you step by step through the Vogue interview and build my argument around these excerpts as we go along. It took 4 dye sessions to erase the signature jet black and lurid green she's worn for 8 months. Sorry, 18 months. The sun's setting, so I'm just gonna leave that in. She was ready for it to suck, but it's been transformative. I feel more like a woman now somehow, she says, surprised. Right off the hop, you can tell they're trying to push an emphasis on Billie's newfound womanhood and distance her from the more alternative, apparently less mature style that she was known for in her early career. This is unsurprising to most of us, I'm sure, but as we move through this, they're going to try and spin it like it's not the oldest trick in the book of child star marketing. Here, they're just kind of discussing her upbringing, her family, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to read too much about that, but down at the bottom here, they start talking about a parade of achievements, mostly concerning her age. She's the youngest winner of the Grammy for Album of the Year, an accolade formerly held by Taylor Swift, and to helm a Bond theme, and is the first artist born in the 21st century to have an American #1. There's a lot of emphasis in this interview on this idea of personal agency. They repeatedly reassure you that this whole thing is totally 100% Billie's idea. Like being thrust into the spotlight at the age of 13 and handed the kind of money and power that debilitates the judgment of full-grown adults in a notoriously exploitative industry would not have any effect on her value system or sense of self. Even before she went viral, Billie was raised in an environment that primed her for creative success and celebrity. She was born and raised in the entertainment capital of the world by two successful musician producers who oversaw the delivery of her entire school curriculum. They weren't A-listers by any means, but between the two there are credits on titles like The West Wing, Friends, Iron Man, and Bones, and Maggie Baird in particular is an alum and former teacher with a theater school that boasts high-profile names like Will Ferrell, Lisa Kudrow, and Kristen Wiig. Wiig. Fuck, I don't know. And if that weren't enough, they also gave Billie the middle name Pirate, which is... it's just very LA of them, isn't it? Like, it's giving me very much Gwyneth Paltrow. Billie's older brother Phineas, who frequently writes and produces with her, also had his own career in show business at the time she hit it big, even though he's only currently 23 years old. He was a child actor who appeared alongside Cameron Diaz in the movie Bad Teacher, and had a recurring character on season 6 of Glee. These also happen to be some of the reasons for the whole industry plant controversy, but in my opinion, those criticisms fail to humanize Billie as an exploited child raised into celebrity. Billie doesn't know anything else. She can only make decisions informed by her experiences. When the interviewer brings up all of these accomplishments to do with Billie's age, they're only validating what we already know. The entertainment industry commodifies children due to their malleability. It's much easier to shape someone young and still developing as a person into a marketable brand than it is to change an adult with a fully formed sense of personhood. And relatability is an important factor when marketing to younger demographics who have been at the forefront of driving pop culture since about the 1950s. These children's experiences of celebrity become their only reference for how to act in the world and how to perceive themselves. They're taught from a young age to constantly see themselves through the eyes of their audience so that their journey of self-exploration can immediately be translated into a calculated marketing campaign. I watched a few interviews for this video. In one, she talks about how she's been trained to interview so thoroughly that sometimes she forgets she's not being interviewed during normal conversation. That is not a healthy reality. When we frame Billie's accomplishments on the basis of her youth, we create a standard. When the interviewer points out that Billie superseded Taylor as youngest artist to win Grammy of the Year, you're almost left wondering who will be the next fresh young face to dethrone her from relevancy once she becomes old enough to be considered replaceable. Also, side note.
So basically we were in this homeschool cult, basically.
Yeah. More on that Howard Stern interview in the next video. She created an instantly identifiable silhouette in capacious rap-influenced couture that made a mystery of her body. Unlike previous generations of teen pop stars deprived of control over their identity, she sanitizes nothing, singing of dying friends, suicidal ideation, and the climate crisis. Here's my thing with Billie Eilish. Everybody pats themselves on the back for apparently collectively deciding as a society that we weren't going to sexualize her until she was legal, except that literally never happened. They're calling her teenaged body a mystery, like it was something to be solved. Just because she wasn't wearing a miniskirt doesn't mean she wasn't sexualized. Here's an example of a sexualized image where she's wearing baggy clothing. The caption reads, "Screaming daddy like you need a father," and she's 17 in this picture. There's a whole other conversation to be had about how her transition from capacious rap-influenced couture to old Hollywood glamour is simply a replication of established patterns where young white celebrities profit off of black aesthetics for their rebellious phases and get treated as innovators, only to shed that identity for a softer and more palatable one once black culture is no longer deemed beneficial to their marketing plan. For Eilish, a new look means a new album. Although it was entirely her idea, Eilish is apprehensive. "I've literally never done anything in this realm at all," she says, dropping her jaw in exaggerated horror, chewing gum rolling past her tongue. Then a smirk. You know, besides when I'm alone and shit. If a new look means a new album, then how independent can this decision really be? How can they claim that it's wholly grounded in her personal agency when the personal and professional are so completely intertwined? Any decision Billie makes about her appearance or her body creates an immediate sweeping implication for her career, and she grew up normalizing and internalizing that. It's the only framework she has to make decisions from, but the way this article is written portrays her as this sort of Lolita archetype, which is a trope that paints young women and girls as sexually mature seductresses while simultaneously fetishizing their perceived innocence. The brief moment of apprehension gives way to a knowing smirk. The chewing gum, a tried and true literary symbol for youth, is now chewed in such a way that it causes the interviewer to take particular interest in her tongue. When Billie reveals that she's never done anything like this, except when she's alone, you're meant to imagine her posing nude for her own cell phone in the intimate setting of her bedroom. She's practiced, they're saying. The innocence is an illusion. She knows exactly what she's doing. Here they say, a teenage pop star bearing all to telegraph her maturity is nothing new. But Eilish has a point to make. They keep trying to redirect your attention. It's different this time. It's not what it looks like. It's feminist. It's a sign of progress. If it's so different, then why is the only thing that's changed the justification? Why is the result still the same? Here they start talking about the choice to wear corsets for the photo shoot. Although Eilish wanted to explore their beauty, the shapes, lacing, design, she was also drawn to their original restrictive function. If I'm honest with you, I hate my stomach, and that's why. She is extremely meticulous in the way she reinvents herself. Eilish predicts one side of response to the shoot. If you're about body positivity, why would you wear a corset? Why wouldn't you show your actual body? She raises her eyebrows. My thing is I can do whatever I want. This brings me to a common tactic used by oppressive powers to quell political unrest: co-opting the movement. In order to understand how the narratives in this article are perpetuating the systems they claim to be criticizing, we need to understand how, on a larger scale, language and ideology born out of radical grassroots activism are diluted and commodified. Body positive ideology is rooted in the fat acceptance movement, whose catalyzing moment was a sit-in protest in Central Park, New York, 1967. Soon after, the National Association to Aid Fat Americans was founded by two men named Lou Louderbeck and William Fabre. It was the first ever organization to advocate for fat people's rights. As the movement grew, it converged with second-wave feminism and various other radical social movements which were gaining traction at the time. When NAFA asked some of its members to tone down their more feminist messaging, they split off from the parent organization to create the Fat Underground. In 1973, Judy Freespirit and Sarah Alderman published the Fat Acceptance Manifesto, which is comprised of 8 declarations. I will read a few of them for you now. Declaration number 2 states, "We are angry at mistreatment by commercial and sexist interests. These have exploited our bodies as objects of ridicule, thereby creating an immensely profitable market, selling the false promise of avoidance of or relief from that ridicule." Declaration number 3. "We see our struggle as allied with the struggles of other oppressed groups against classism, racism, sexism, ageism, financial exploitation, imperialism, and the like." Declaration 7 says, "We repudiate the mystified science which falsely claims that we are unfit. It has both caused and upheld discrimination against us, in collusion with the financial interests of insurance companies, the fashion and garment industries, reducing industries, the food and drug industries, and the medical and psychiatric establishment." I definitely recommend reading the full manifesto. I'll leave a link in the bio if you're interested in that. As we can see, early incarnations of body positivity centered the advancement of political and social equity for fat people, emphasizing that all bodies have value and are deserving of respect. When social movements become more widespread, the demand for change can actually shift the market. And there may come a time where it is no longer politically safe for the oppressor to continue relying on the rhetoric they had used to gain power. In these cases, it is often safest to adapt. But an industry built on the subjugation of marginalized groups can't adopt the politics of revolution without criticizing itself. Instead, they may choose to slightly alter the oppressive standard to include a slightly wider demographic, affording privileges to some but not all of their opposition. In turn, those who now qualify for these privileges may turn their backs on collective liberation in in order to better their position in society. It's how suffragettes got the vote, it's how the Irish and Italians became white, and it's how we ended up with an entire genre of body positivity content that is just mid-sized women aggressively reassuring each other that you're not actually fat, you're like super beautiful, it's just your organs. Meanwhile, actually fat people still struggle to receive adequate medical care. Commodified social movements will almost always emphasize personal liberation over collective solidarity. When Billie says, "My thing is I can do whatever I want," it's not the groundbreaking act of feminist resistance that they're trying to sell you. It's a refusal to critique her politics in any way that might require her to actually challenge the status quo and sacrifice something. Do I think corsets are a restrictive relic of the past or a symbol of women's oppression? No. In fact, I like, own, and wear corsets. Do I think women should be judged or shamed for their attempts to attain a patriarchal beauty standard? No again. In many instances, I believe it's a survival mechanism. What I do think is that it's possible to hold these truths in parallel with the assertion that our liberation cannot come from the institutions that were built to oppress us. Vogue is using Billie's insecurity to sell a beauty standard to her young and impressionable audience. We can be critical of that without condemning Billie for her own victimization. That's gonna be all for the first part of the conversation, and then in 3 weeks I'll post the second part of my Billie Eilish video. And in the meantime, hello, it's the end of the video. If you made it this far, welcome. So happy to have you. And now that that's over with, let's have a little chit chat about this giveaway. I made, oh shit, fuck. Butterfingers. My room's in the attic, and it's actually like summer now, and it's just getting really sweaty. So sorry, my hands they're moist. As I was saying, I made these cute little brick stitch watermelon earrings, and I would love to give them to a subscriber as a thank you for reaching 500 so quickly. I was totally blown away. If you're interested in winning these, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and then leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite snack is to eat in the summer. Mine, well, I have a few, but one of them is definitely watermelon. As always, if you liked what you saw here today or really fucking hated it, but in a way that made you want to watch more, like obsessively, I don't have that much content yet, but you can hit the subscribe button. My current upload schedule is about once a month, every 3 weeks or so, and also just whenever I feel like it. That's it for today. Bye!
On part 2, except it's a few weeks later and my mental health is significantly worse. I live in Canada. I live in British Columbia, where a mass grave was recently uncovered at a residential school, and I'm not having a great time about it. So I am going to post a video in 3 weeks, but I just don't really feel like writing about child grooming right now. So I'm gonna do something else, and it'll probably just be something kind of like fun and lighthearted and easier to make. Thank you for your understanding about that, and I still will be announcing the winner of the giveaway in the next video.